you close your eyes. You focus on the vague sounds of the music. And a slight shifting happens around you that makes you open them again, and around you are the now very familiar stone walls and streets of the city beneath Solswyn. Ahead of you, the street goes downwards. Behind you, it goes past you again. There's a few intersections here and there, dotting around, looking up and around is just foggy into darkness. And as you begin walking down the street, you walk forward, up into the next intersection, and automatically take a left turn. And as you continue down the street a bit, maybe a little while ahead of you, you see, on the left side, a break between these foundations, as plonked in the middle of them is this little wooden hut made of this dark ashen wood with a door that's just slightly off its hinges, as ever, firelight spewing from out the door and from above it, and off down the street. And as you approach, you open the door and it's empty. No one's in it. No Soren Lestrade. No other listeners. There's no one here. Not today, at least. But having walked around, you take the time anyway to enter, and you sit down across the fire and warm your hands a bit. It's not particularly cold outside. It's always the same temperature. But it's nice anyway. The crackling of the flames is soothing, and the warmth that it radiates is pleasant. You hear the door open behind you. You look around, and behind you Soren Lestrade walks in. So, you found your way back. Welcome back, welcome back. His grey hair is kind of more tousled than usual. It's just kind of a bit all over the place, like he just got out of bed maybe, or maybe wasn't prepared for this. He shifts his tunic a bit, makes sure it's sitting correctly, and then walks past you and to the other side of the fire where he usually sits. Well, that was frustrating. Dislike it when the High Lady of Torp comes and calls to me. It's always very disconcerting. Maybe I shouldn't be sending people her way again? Or maybe I should do it again just to annoy her. We'll see. If you would join me, and close your eyes. You close your eyes. And once again, something imperceivable shifts around you. You open them. Around you is the forest of bottles again. The dark, almost midnight blue of the void around you. Below you, this almost mirror surface with this just very thin layer of water across it entirely, and hanging from invisible threads are the many, many humongous bottles with the dioramas. You see one that you've seen a few times now, which is Ruminara, as it now has a number of moats all over the map. There's the 4 going up and leading through Noom, and there's the one above Solswyn. There's a new one blinking just very faintly at you from the very lower western edge of Felwyn. But around you see other bottles as well, as normally you were always drawn to that bottle, but this time you feel the urge to look around a bit. And looking around, you see a few. There's a bottle which seems to have stormy, overcast skies, and within the lightning that flashes downward, you see a dark Victorian manor, with this beautiful garden stretching around it. A whole world based around just this single location, apparently. And you see another place which looks like it's just a desert made of glass. You see through it until at some point the refraction of the light doesn't let you see further and it just turns into this blinding white underneath. And erecting from it there are these glass structures that are a bit too small for you to be able to tell, unfortunately. Then you turn. Soren Lestrade picks one bottle down It shrinks to fill his hands. He hands it to you and it has... I think this is the place where I'd like to go today. This is a fun place to be. And this one, similarly to the one with the mansion that you saw, is filled with storm clouds. Rain and lightning. And just very barely, even though there's not really sound coming from it, you can feel the thrum of thunder when you're holding the bottle. Looking within it, you see fields and mountains and water and a forest and a dark city. Almost black, very dark gray. And looking at all of them, there's something strange about them. All of them seem to shimmer slightly. Or they... It's like they're refracting or letting off more light than they should be. Not that they're more vibrant or they're more green or more brown or more blue. It's that they have this little bit of a glare coming off them. Thorin Lestrade walks up to you. So, are you going to open the bottle? This one goes to a fun place. I call it Naithwal, which is a word in the tongue of the original inhabitants of this plane. If you open the bottle, I'll explain to you in a sec. As you uncork, and the cork having left, you feel yourself pulled taut, and it feels like two strange things at the same time. And on the one hand, it feels like you're being pulled through a wind tunnel. Massive space with huge amounts of wind just coming past you and blowing your face. And on the other end, at the same time, it also feels like you're squeezed and pulled through this immensely tight rubber tubing. As you're pulled downward and you look out and you see yourself, but this time you only see it for a very brief moment before you fall into the clouds, and everywhere lightning flashing everywhere. And then you fall beneath the clouds, and it's gray, but yet at the same time you still see this shimmering. And below you see the following map. As it pulls and you see this long chain of mountains and this forest at the top, which, looking closely at the edges, mostly a normal forest, but as it reaches the center of it, it's a jungle. It's grasping into each other and itself. And then in the center there's grasslands, these beautiful golden wheat grasses is what it looks like. And off to the sides there's several islands with a single keep. But the strangest thing about it is that past the edge of these lands, you expect there to be water for this plane to continue, this realm to go off, but looking out past the edges of the world, it's blackness as it goes into nothing. Something about this area is just on a thin line. As you reach the edge, there is truly an edge to fall off of. You can't see the edge. You don't know where it falls, but yet it leaves into nothingness. And within the center of this island area is this city of dark, dark gray. But as you reach certain angles and as lightning flashes, you see as it reflects it, the light sometimes. Even though it's so dark gray, it has these white flashes every now and then. And you continue falling. And falling. You reach a point where, just west of the city, you land amidst the grasses. And you see now they aren't oats. They're grasses. But they're not green, they're yellowish. They're really pretty though. They shimmer just slightly. In between them every now and then are these little swampy pits. almost entirely hidden by the grasses, although at a glance around you see that around these swampy pits the grasses seem to grow just a little bit higher. Not much, almost imperceptible. And looking around you see the shimmering is familiar to you somehow, and you can't quite grasp it until looking closely at some of the blades of the grass that you're currently standing on, you see they're extremely thin, and below this yellowish there's this metallic shimmer. Soren Lestrade appears beside you. Says, yes, that is what Naithwal means. Naithwal is the native tongue for metal. And as you look around, you see all of these little grasses as they lightly bend and swoop in a wind. The lightning and the rain coming down. And you look around and you realize the rain isn't simply water, it's got a little bit of a, looking through it, through the haze that it creates when falling, you see that it's got this bit of a turquoise effect. And looking at all of the grasses, you can see that they're as sharp as razors. They are metallic blades of grass, so thin that when the wind swoops through, they bend like spring steel. And then between the grasses, you see what looks like a frog, but looking at it, you see that it too is made of metal. It's like its entire skin is this liqueform metal piece. It's not cogs and pieces. It's not molded together. It's like it grew, but it's completely metallic. It has these golden eyes and this lightly bluish silver skin as it hops deftly between these pits and off of the grasses. And another frog. You see a few of them around here. And between all of it you see a fairly large centipede of kinds. But it's a little bit different. It's like each of the segments, they are identical, and they're like clasped metal pieces, like a chain link inside it, that as it moves, and these tiny mechanical feet, it looks like, move it. This one definitely looks more mechanical than the frog did. The frog looks like it just grew and existed, whereas this looks like it was created almost. It looks like clockwork pieces in some essences, as a kind of very faint clicking comes from it as it moves between the grasses. You see a few of them, and you see all sorts of life, of things moving, of things being. And all of them, as you look at them closely, you see that each of them is this mixture of life and metal. These biometal constructions have grown and existed, and you look at the grasses and you see that there's different types of grasses actually. Not all of them are these sharp needle-thin swaying pieces. Some of them are more like clovers and such. But you look at them and you realize that all of these have that same metallic shimmer. They have different colors. Some of them are more brass, some of them are golden, some of them are silverish. Some of them have more of this iron texture. Yet, all of them have this metallic shimmer. And then from between them, just barely through the haze, you think you see something, as you hear a very faint as it's heavy footfalls. And at the same time with the heavy footfalls, it's like the grating of different steel pieces and the clanging of metals against each other. As in from the haze, you see a figure walking from the south. It's a huge suit of metal armor with these like elephant's feet essentially. 2 feet, humanoid, 2 arms, but so hugely clasped in metal that you feel like even if they were a normal human as you know them, there must be like 7 times or 8 times their own weight in metal just strapped to them. They are wearing several 100 kilograms of metal, as it's closed everywhere. Helmet on, clasped tight. Just these very bare slits, 3 of them, over each eye. And you can't see through them, it's too dark on the inside. As it's clanging, pressing down the metal grasses with these huge feet that it stomps forward. And then, coming to the edge of one of these tar pits, looking in, the dark blubbery mass is kind of bubbling a little bit. And it gets something out of a compartment on the side. It's like, opens it, remove what looks like a canister or something of the sort, unscrews a lid, it's like a thermos can, then holds it down, and it kind of like does a vice grip sort of thing, and then just lowers it, fills it with this tar-like substance, and then you watch as it tries to lift it up, but it doesn't seem to be able to until it kind of touches some kind of button or something on the shoulder, and you watch this hydraulic thing lift along its biceps to lift it back out of the sludge. And then as it holds it back out, it kind of wipes off the side. It's like metal on metal scratching sounds, and it's really, really not very pleasant. Screws shut the lid again, opens the compartment, and puts it back in. And then it just kind of stands. It looks around for a bit. And as it looks, you two look around. You see around you, standing now looking north. You look to the west and you see this giant chain of mountains. You look to the east and you see the city. Towering and massive at this point, as from this angle it's more visible to you that it is a very angular city. Huge amounts of right angles as buildings just go up in these blocky statures and then kind of build outwards sometimes as well in these like columns and rows in the air and on the ground all over the place. And within the center of this city there's this truly, truly massive, completely rectangular building just juts into the sky among the center. And you're decently far away from this city still, and that thing in the center is humongous. It is larger than pretty much anything else you've ever seen. It is the size of a mountain. And you look north, and to the north, just barely, you see the edges of a forest. And you realize that you shouldn't be able to see it. The haze is deeper, and yet your eyes pierce through it and you see the forest. And with that, we get our first question. So your choice is, do you want to go east to the mountains? The Murray Mountains? Do you want to go north to the wild? Or do you want to go west? Do you want to go west to the mountains, north to the wild, or east to Nerlaith, the city?